Hello. Hopefully I'm live. Waiting for the thumbs up from trusty assistant here, who's looking a little bit bemused. If you can hear me, do say hello in the chat while I wait for my confirmation. Still watching him like a hawk. Yes, excellent. Hello and welcome everybody. Today we are looking at bulleted and numbered lists. If you are with me live, do say hello in the chat while I have a look and see who's in there. Hello! Oh, lots and lots of people. Renee, Annie, who else we got? Liana, Warren. I think I'm seeing some old stuff here, but I can see Ali as well, and Tony and Floyd. So, hello to each and every one of you. Right, let's get on. Okay. We're broadcasting in HD. Make sure you're watching in HD. You will find a cog in the lower right-hand corner where there should be a red flash. Make sure that you can see that and you'll be getting the best quality. While you are down there, there is the like button. We like the like button. YouTube likes the like button even more. So if you find anything useful, do give it a like. I'm Elaine Giles, if you've never heard of me, long-time Affinity user. And I've used all the Affinity apps since the very first day that they were released. What can I say? And now using version 3. Right, everything today is as relevant for Windows as it is Mac. Still no news of the iPad version. But we do have an event coming in April, so watch this space, I think, is the best advice there. If I say command and I forget, I mean control if you're on Windows. But most of what we'll do today is in dialog boxes, so we shouldn't have too many issues with that. Right, what are we doing? Well, might seem a bit weird, but is it a list? Oh, there's reasons that I'm asking that. Then there's lots of gotchas with lists. Now, I did send a mail out and say, if you've got any questions specifically about lists, let me know. And I think I did make a list of the things that people said about lists, and I think I'm going to cover every one of them. But if you have a question about a list, then do put it in the chat. Right, talking of the chat and the Q&A, if you put your questions in the chat as we go, we'll collect them ready for the Q&A at the end. If you can remember, please put a Q at the beginning. It just makes it a little easier to find it and give us a little bit of context about what you're talking about. So if you are mentioning a dialog box or a specific list type, just add that to it and we'll be able to answer it a little bit faster. Okay, we love to read the chat. Please keep it friendly in there. We do have a lot of chat. So I know most of you are chatting amongst yourselves, but if you do want to put questions in there as well, then do feel free. And if you are with us today live and you have never even said hello before, then say hello in the chat. It'd be great to hear from you. Right, just before we start, I'm going to mention Microsoft Publisher going away again, because it is. And I'm going to be running a couple of special things in relation to this for Life After Publisher, when Publisher has indeed gone away. So this is a dedicated thing that is separate from what I usually do about Affinity. There is a wait list, and if you join the wait list, you will get the frequently asked questions download. So if you are using Publisher or you know somebody who is using Microsoft Publisher, it is going away in October. Nothing we can do about that apart from prepare you to work efficiently in Affinity, which is what that is all about. If you are already using Affinity and you've never used Microsoft Publisher, just ignore all of that. Right, let's get on with the bulleted and numbered lists in Affinity. So, as I say, first thing, is it a list? Now, I do ask this for a reason, because I do have people that get in touch and they are so frustrated with what happens with it. And I look at it and I think, yeah, well, problem number one, not a list, just saying. So, is it a list? So I'm going to put up 3 slides, A, B, and C. What I want you to do, if you're with me live in the chat, is put A and then is a list or is not a list next to it. So is that we're looking at a list? Now, it's a screenshot of a file that I'm making available for you so you can actually investigate these things. But is that a list or not? So A, and is it a list or not? Now, I'm going to move on to B. Did you actually see a change? So that was A, that was B, but is it a list? Now, when I say a list, you could say to me, well, yes, it's a list. Of course it's a list. I mean, is it an official Affinity, it's going to work list? Or is it a list that isn't an Affinity official list, hiding in plain sight, and everything's going to break? That's what I mean. Right, C, slightly different. Is that a list or not? So, do we have anything coming through there, Mike? Oh, I know there's a delay, but come on, don't be shy. Don't be shy. Let's go back to A again. Is A a list? Well, it's certainly got bullet points on it, and it is a list of items, but is it a list? B, very, very similar. Is that a list? And C, is C a list? What do we have, Mike?
C is a list.
Right, okay.
Simon Newt says A and B no, C yes.
Mm-hmm.
Bernard the Ghost says C is a list. Ignacio says hello all. Brian SH says C. Christian says A, I don't know, I think not.
Okay.
Y Robert says I don't know if it's an Affinity list. I've never made a list in Affinity.
Oh, you're preparing to have mine blown then.
Ian Hawkins says A's not a list. Renee says I have a hate-love relationship with Affinity bullets. C's not a list. Floyd says C. Ricardo says they all look like lists to me. Warmet says I like C.
Right, okay. Well, let's have a look. A is not a bulleted list. A was copied from a text file and pasted in, and it is not a list. However, there is absolutely no difference in the way that A looks to B. And B is an official Affinity list. It's manually formatted, which frustrates a lot of people because they don't get the indent, the hanging indent on the subsequent lines. But it is an official Affinity list. But if you look at that, that's A, that's B. Looks-wise, they look identical, and that is what causes a lot of problems for people. That they copy and paste the stuff in, the bullets come in, they think that looks right, the bulleted list. And it is until you start trying to add new bullets to it or format it in some kind of way. So that's the manually formatted list. C is an official list. Difference between that is it was formatted differently. It was formatted using a style. And if we use the text style, that's what gives it the hanging indent without us having to concern ourselves with how to make the hanging indent work. Let's go and have a look at that actually in Affinity. So what I've done is, there is a freebie at the end. There is. What I have done, is it a list? Let's open that up. Is it a bulleted list? Right. Now I've created this file, which is, if we look at the pages, it's got 3 pages in a spread. I've done it like this. I know it's quite tiny, but I've done it like this so you can put them next to each other and have a look at them. So, do a comparison. So this one, not a bulleted list. But it looks identical to this one, which was B, which is a bulleted list. And there is a fraction of a difference with C. Now, how do you know, particularly with A and B, what you've got, especially if you've inherited the file or you're sharing the file with somebody else? Well, here's the thing. If we go into this text, so put our insertion point just to the left of the 2 from the 2nd of November, and we move back, it moves back to the bullet, and if I move back one more, it moves to the other side of the bullet. And we could delete the bullet, we could delete the tab. So that is a list only in terms of what it looks like. Now, if what you're doing is producing a PDF and you don't want to make any changes, it's good enough. So if time is of the essence and you don't want to fiddle, because as Renee says, he has a hate-hate relationship with lists, don't we all? They seem to do their own thing constantly. So if it looks right and you don't want to waste the time fiddling, you're fearful of breaking it, then leave it alone. No one's ever going to know. But if you want to make changes to that, you would like to format it properly, then this is your first option, which is to manually format the list. This time, when I place the insertion point to the left of the 2 and I use the left arrow key, nothing happens. You cannot move beyond the tab. You certainly can't get next to the bullet. So literally, I'm pressing that key, and what you can see on the screen, if you squint at it hard enough, is as I'm pressing the key, the insertion point, it becomes solid, but it doesn't move. So that is a manually formatted list. Now, if you want to get even cleverer with it, and you probably do want a lovely hanging indent, then this is the way to do it, which is the default bulleted list style. So as soon as, now that presupposes you have not changed your default styles, or if you have changed your default styles, you've left the bullet style alone. Right, the difference between them, the text is the same, the bullet shape is the same, everything is the same apart from the hanging indent. So moving to the left of the 2 and using the arrow key, again, you can't get to the bullet, you can't get to the other side of the tab, but you do have a hanging indent. Now, in terms of if you get material in and you need to know if it's a proper bulleted list or not, if it didn't start life in Affinity, there's a good chance it's not going to be a proper list. It's just been copied and pasted in. But if your content did start in Affinity, it's just a matter of finding out if it's a bulleted list or not. There's a couple of ways. If it's this text one, you can see this is formatted as body text. Now, a bulleted list and a numbered list are defined as a text style, but at paragraph level. So if you've seen my sessions on text styles, you'll understand the difference between a paragraph text style and a character text style. The paragraph styles have the pilcrow, the back-facing P, and the character styles have an A. And your bulleted list is defined at paragraph level. So if you're looking in your text and you're thinking, okay, that's body, then it's unlikely, unless you've defined at body level for it to have a bullet, it's unlikely to be a bulleted list. The other way to check is to click and move backwards. Can you select that bullet? If you can select the bullet and the tab, it's not a proper bulleted list. This one is probably the trickiest, because in here you can see it's defined as body. So you might say, well, it can't be a list then, can it? No, it was formatted manually, so I didn't use a style. But the best way to do it is to use a style, and this time when I click in any of these bullet points, you can see that the paragraph style is set to bullet 1. If I click here on the disclosure triangle, you can see we have bullet 2 underneath as well. So that's the best way to do it. I will show you all of the ways to do it. I'll also show you some gotchas before we even get started. These are the gotchas that Renee doesn't like. I can predict it. Okay, but that is a file that is included in the bonus at the end. So you can go in and actually try this for yourself. Because once you get the hang of this, bulleted lists are simple. You'll be putting them all over the place and you'll be doing amazing things with them. This is the absolute basics. Okay, I'm going to close that. Don't need to save it. Let's go back in here and look at how we control lists and some gotchas. So if you are coming to this from InDesign or even Word, it's not going to work the way you think it does. Be warned. So the actual placement of the elements of your list are determined primarily with 2 options, a left indent and a first line indent. Now, as I say, in InDesign, there are ways that you can remember how it works, and it involves putting in a minus value. You cannot do that in Affinity. That is not the way it works. So if you are coming from InDesign, forget everything you ever knew about setting up bullets, and we're all going to do it a different way. I still, I'll be honest, don't find it 100% logical, but once you know what to do, it'll be fine. Then there's the common gotchas, and there are a few gotchas, a couple in particular. There could be a reason why they've made it work like this. On the other hand, it could be broken, depending on how you look at it. And in my opinion, it's not good. So what I'm going to do is I am going to get a file. Now, I'll be working with this data all the way through this session. It's just a list of the sessions that I've done since November when the new version came out. And it lends itself perfectly to being turned into a list. So don't concern yourself with the data altogether now. It's a demo, but it is data that works for lists. So you may be thinking, right, you come to this and this is totally logical. You look at the text, you think I need that to be a bulleted list. So you click in the text frame and you select all the text, Command and A or Control and A. And maybe you've worked with Word, maybe you've worked with other applications, or maybe you've just spotted it on the toolbar. We have two buttons. So we have here, we have that one for a bulleted list and that one for a numbered list. Would that it were that simple that we could just click that. Anybody tried that? Let me know in the chat. How did it go for you? Right, I will click the button. I now have a bulleted list. It's beautiful. It is a proper bulleted list in terms of if I click next to the 2, let's zoom in so we can see it. Now try moving. I can't move to the left. So because I can't select the tab and the bullet, it's a proper bulleted list. It even has the hanging indent. It's fine, isn't it? It's perfect. Yeah, it's perfect as long as you don't do anything. Right, but I can guarantee that at some point you're going to be thinking, oh, I need to do something else. So you select the whole lot again and you think, I'll just turn the bullets off while I do, and then fill in the blank, whatever it is you're trying to do. Right, so you go back to the button and you turn it off. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. And it gets worse than this. Right, it has taken the bullet away and it's taken the tab away. Not taken the hanging indent away though, has it? So that button, once you've pushed it, there's no going back. Not with that button, there isn't. But as I say, it gets worse than that. Let me undo and get back where we were, which was there. Select all the text. We'll push the button. We now have a bulleted list. But then we turn it off. Then we decide we're turning it back on, and off, and on, and off. And the more you do that, the more the hanging indent moves in. What do you reckon? By intent or broken? I'm going for broken. What are you going for, Mike?
I'll go with broken.
It's not what people expect. Let's put it like that. And when that's happened, this is where the hate-hate relationship comes in. You're like, now, how do I get rid of it? How on earth do I fix all of that? Right, you would Command an A. Turn it off with the button. You've got your hanging indent to consider. And I appreciate at this stage, you may be thinking, I do not want to be fiddling in dialog boxes to try and fix it. I might make it even worse. Right, but what we could do at this stage, we could apply the body style. And at least that gets us back to where we were, but now we have a body style applied. But once we've applied the body style, we can go back to having no style to fix it. So that's how we get back to where it was when you've done it 27 times, and now you've got a hanging indent that's wide enough to get a barge through. So that's just something to be aware of. Exactly the same problem with the numbered list. Toggle it on, off, keep going, and it just keeps indenting. Right, I will be showing you the right way to do this. Leave these buttons alone. They're not good. They're not good at all. It's just one of those things. I don't know why on earth they would do that if it's deliberate. It's just not logical. Right, as I said, it's going to be an interaction. What goes on here, it's an interaction between the left indent and the first line indent. So I'll show you how I fix that again. Apply the body style, and then if you want to, you can take the body style away and it solves the problem. Right, if I apply the bullet style to this, or I apply this at the top, but personally I'd leave the buttons alone. Leave them alone. Right, how it's controlling this is the left indent and the first line indent. And one of the places that you can see that is in the paragraph panel. I'm going to pull the paragraph panel out because this panel can look horrific. There's so many things in it. You've got your alignment at the top. You might have the spacing open. You might have your justification open, and you might have your bullets and numbering open. And you're going to need to stretch that to see it. And now that just looks so confusing. Right, we will be looking at the bullets and numbering. we can get rid of justification. What we're looking at here is the spacing. And it's showing you that you have this, which is the top one, which is the left indent, of 6.4. And this one is your first line indent, and that is set to 0. And it's these two that determine together what that list looks like. Now, as I said, in terms of the gotchas that you've got, this is one of them, because if in here we had set that, so we were going to take the bullet away from that, we'll turn the whole lot back to body. And let's say you decide that you don't like this bullet, you want to do it your way, and you know that you need to do that in here. So you go to your bullets and numbering, and it says no list, but you just turn the bullets on. Right, at that point, that's not the same as applying the style because we have no hanging indent. But we do know up here, don't we, that we've got two options. So we've got the top one, which is the left indent, and we've got the first line indent. Right, what do we need to do to get a hanging indent? Well, we would need to move this. So put in there 6.4, which was what it was. And I need to do that applied to the whole lot. So let's select it first. So let's go in there and put 6.4. Not quite what we want. Now, you were probably, when I did that, looking at the bulleted list. Let's do it again. This time, don't look at the bulleted list. Look at what goes on in these two boxes. They're both saying 0 at the minute. If I go into the top one because I want the hanging indent to be, or I want the text to be indented by 6.4 mil. I type 6.4. Look what happens when I press enter. It has added 6.4 to the first line indent as well. Why? I didn't type that in, did it by itself. No wonder there is a hate-hate relationship with bulleted and numbered lists. It did it by itself. So just to make sure you absolutely see that, I'm in the top box. I type and I press enter, and it populates two text boxes. I don't think I've ever seen that with any other application. Now, that gives you a problem here. You still haven't got a hanging indent, and now the bullet's moved. Right, go into the bottom one. It should be 0. It should not have changed it. If you type 0, it doesn't change the top one, thankfully, and you've now got a hanging indent. So those are the gotchas you need to get over first before you master lists. These are the things it does that plays with your mind. Let me know in the chat if those are the kind of problems that you've encountered. Are we hearing that so far, Mike? He's having a think.
Problems, nothing specific.
A mixture of problems, a whole potpourri of problems.
Pete said, could you set a negative first line indent?
Now, didn't I just say can't have negative values? Because I know people who have come from InDesign and they've tried that. You just need to know how it works in Affinity. And then you don't need to do the negative maths because there's no negative maths involved. So not needed, not necessary. So those are the common gotchas. Just a minute. You're on.
Dogwalker 350 says it happens all the time.
This is the problem. It does things by itself that you didn't tell it to do. And, it's very easy to you've typed the value in and you're about to press enter. You're looking at the list. You didn't even notice that it changed another location and you've got to go and override it. So those are just some of the common gotchas that are involved with it. And once you've got those and you realise what it's doing, you know at least it's not you at that point. Okay, I am going to close that file and we're going to look at the paragraph panel and how to create a list manually. So the manual formatting that is available from the paragraph panel. Now I'm doing this first, but I don't recommend that you rely on this. I think text styles are a far better way to do it, but everything that you would need to create in a text style, you need to understand how it works in the paragraph panel first. So I will go and get my file for that, which again, all of these files look fairly similar. This is just going to be the manually formatted bulleted list. So it's got the same information in it. So I'm going to select it all. And you can see here I have the paragraph panel. And I'm going to make a list that looks identical to the bulleted list style, but I'm going to do it by hand. Right, so let's fold all of this up. It gets confusing. Right, the place to start is to make sure that you have a list in the bullets and numbering section. So the default is no list. If I wanted it to be a bullet, I go in and I choose bullet, and that gets me halfway there. What it's done is it's created some level 1 bullets for everything that was selected, which is showing here that it's level 1. Underneath that, you have an example of what it looks like. So there is a bullet point at the beginning, and it's followed by a tab. Now, if it's numbers, you probably want something different, but for a bullet, that's absolutely fine. You can see under that, it's saying the tab stop is 6.4, and that's how I knew to put 6.4, which then aligned it and gave me the hanging indent. But notice that that does not happen in here. So this section that we're looking at, the bullets and numbering there, doesn't have anything in the way of spacing. So that's the first place we go. But then we need to go to the spacing to fix the hanging indent. So we know we want to indent it by 6.4 because that's our tab. But putting that in the top one automatically changes the bottom one. So we need to go back in there and put 0. And that now is formatted exactly the same as if you'd used the text style. Right, let's press enter. Notice when I press enter, I get another bullet. Now, it's doing that because I've got the bullets, I've formatted it, and it's using the last format to apply it. So I can add another bullet there. Not a problem if I want to do that. It's still not as good as using a style because you have to manually do this. And it's all very well when it's front of mind, but if you've not done a bulleted list for a couple of weeks, you think, oh, which one do I have to type in, and then which one do I have to change? Whereas with a style, you don't need to worry about that. You do not need to be concerned about that. But that is how you format it in there. Now, if you wanted to make it slightly different, so let's do a Command and A to select the whole lot. Right, if I wanted to go in and instead of 6.4, I wanted that to be 10 millimeters. Notice what it's doing now. Now it's, how do we even predict this? Now it's saying 10 and 3.6. So again, it's added something in there, but I would say guesstimating what needs to be going in there. Right, what does that need to be? Well, what it's done, that is your first line indent. So what it's saying is that first line there, this bullet point is 3.6 from the margin. So we could put the 0 in. That would at least move it back. Not great, though. Now it's not all lined up, is it? There is a trick to this. We have up here on the menu the frame text ruler. We can bring that into play. Why is it not showing it me? There we go. There it is. Now this is a way to visualize what's going on. We have 3 little things in here. We have the square at the bottom that we can move, and we have this triangle at the top we can move. This gives you complete control. So I've moved the bullet back, that's the triangle at the top. This bit here is controlling your hanging indent. And there's a lovely red line. So we can line it up perfectly with the one above it. And obviously, if all of that is selected, when I start moving this, you can see what happens. I'm doing it to all of it. So if you are stuck and in a hurry and you're like, oh, please just line up, that is a good way to do it. What I will say about that ruler is, and I love that ruler, I like having it on more than I have it off. But the only problem I found with that ruler is when it's there and I want to, so I'm just going to click out so we can see the whole thing. If I want to change the size of this box, obviously I'm going to grab a corner of it like this, and I can do that. I can grab the top as well. Do that. But when I'm in it and I'm trying to do that, it's nigh on impossible to grab the sizing handle at the top. So I do find myself sometimes, once I've done it, I'm turning it off and I've got rid of it. So that is all of the manual options you have for that. Right, so the next step is using the default bullet text style. Now, as I say, caveat on that, when I say default, I mean the Affinity by Canva default. If you have changed that, your bullet text style may no longer be the default, the real original default. This is why when people say to me, if I say they've moved a button, they've done this, they've done that, I get so many people, you can fix that, you can do this, you can do that, you can edit the interface. I know, but I'm doing a demo and I need my interface to look as similar to yours as possible. And part of that is the default text styles. So that's why I've kept the default text styles rather than edit them and do my own thing with them. Don't feel too sorry for me. I don't have to do everything manually because all of my custom styles are in templates. So I am talking here about the default bullet text style, which you can see in the text styles when I open the file. So let's going for default there. So I've got another file. Right, these are the default text styles. Your text panel may not look like that because I have everything the other way to the default. I show the hierarchy. I don't show the samples, but I do sort them by type. So if you want your panel to look like mine while you follow along, make sure you've got a tick in the top one, the bottom one, and not in the middle one. It will look like mine. And the default bullet style we're looking at is this one here, which has a disclosure triangle to show you it also has a level underneath it. So if we wanted all of this list to be a bulleted list all at the same level, all you need to do is to click bullet 1. Now, you may be thinking, well, what if I wanted it a different font or whatever? Watch the session I did on text styles, because if I've got text in my document, you probably want some similarity between it. And that's why you have a hierarchy of styles. So this is Arial at the moment, but if I go in and I want to edit it, I would edit this at this point, which is where the font is defined, so that the font of Arial is defined at the base level, which is the parent of bullet 1, and it's the parent of body. So if I were to go into body and look at that, the font family says no change, which means use the style of font that is coming from the base. And this says exactly the same. So if we go into bullet 1, font family, no change. If you want to change the font, change it as high up the text style tree as you can. And that way you'll make your own life easier. So if I change that to Poppins, you can see that ripples through to the bulleted list. Right, so we now have that formatted with the bullet text style. That font is fractionally bigger, and that's why we now have a text overflow, but that doesn't matter. Right, so we've got that applied. Now, the next thing you may need to be thinking about at this stage is, right, so I want to put in another bullet. So you press enter and you add another bullet. No problem at all. But what I see some people doing is pressing enter and they want a level 2 bullet. So they press tab. That's not the way to do it in Affinity, not to give you a true level 2 bullet. So don't use the tab key. Let's go back to this bullet here. And let's say that another bullet, but we'd like this to be level 2. Right. If we go in and we look at this style and we look at the bullets and numbering, you can see there is a level defined and you can change that level. Now, obviously, we don't want to change it at the level of bullet 1, but we do want to change the level. And there's 2 ways that you could do that, the right way and a manual way, which could give you problems later. Which the correct way to do it is to apply bullet 2. Bullet 2 being a child of bullet 1 and bullet 1 being a child of the base style. That's the style tree in action right there. Now, that has done an indent, and it's changed the bullet from a circle to a square, because that's what's defined in that list. So in that style there, it's been defined that the second one is a square rather than a circle. I find it a little odd that it's slightly bigger than the circle. I wouldn't expect that, but there you go. Right, so let me have a look over here. Right. So the thing to remember with that is don't press tab to get another level. Right, if we move down to this, and I'll show you the other way that you can change the level of a bullet point. And that is in the text menu. You have in there somewhere, I don't use it, so list, right. In the list, you can change it from bullet to number. And these are your options for increasing the level or decreasing the level. And there is a shortcut key there to do that with as well. So if I wanted to increase the level of that, you can see that that will then push it inside. Notice what else it did. Because I was in here, let's just undo it so we can see it again. You can see bullet 1 is applied here, but if I use this menu option up here and go to list, increase the level, it automatically applies bullet 2 style to it. So again, something to be aware of. It's doing things that you didn't actually maybe think that you asked it to do, but it's going to do it anyway. So that is how you would change the level of it. Now, if you want to go in there and go to list and increase the level again, it will then make that a level 3. But notice what it's done here. It's left it at the bullet 2 style for that. So that is using it, okay? That's using the styles that we've already got. What I'll do next is we'll come out of that because we don't want any changes that we've made there to ripple through. But that default style, if you don't like it, if you would like the bullet to be square or some esoteric character, or you don't like the font, or you don't like the spacing, or there's just something that you don't like, you can edit that bulleted list style. Now, the only thing I'd say before you do that is make sure, do you want a default bulleted style? And if you do you want it to be custom? Because you can also create a style that's a completely new style, but it's a bulleted list or a numbered list. You could do that. So let's open up the next file, which is going to look pretty similar to the last one. I just didn't want to carry any changes that I'd made through. So what I'm going to do in here is edit that default bulleted list style. So first thing to do, Command and A, select the whole lot and apply the style to it. Right. You would edit this style just as you would edit any other style. So right click on it and edit bullet 1. I'll move it to the side so we can see changes. And the changes to the bullets are in the bullets and numbering. So you get to choose the list style. So we'll leave it set to bullet. You get to choose the level of the style you are editing. And then this next option where it says text is where you've got options to customize it. So at the moment you can see we've got a dot. So we have our bullet and we have that followed by the blue symbol with 2 right pointing arrows in it. That is the shortcut to show you what is a tab. So instead of pressing the tab key, that is the tab symbol. That's how you represent it in the dialog box. Now, if what we wanted was not to have that little circle at the beginning, we could delete it. And notice we still have a bulleted list, we just don't have a bullet. So across to the right, we have the dot, dot, dot. And in here, we have a range of symbols that belong to the Arial font. So down here, we've got the bullets. We've also got all these other symbols that we could use. And you're not really limited in terms of what symbols you use. But let's say that we wanted the square. So I'm going to double click that and it puts the shape in there and it also automatically applies it. So we've now edited that style. Let's zoom in and see, is it now a square? It is indeed a square. And of course, you can go in and make a lot more changes to that. I'm going to just put this paragraph thing back where it came from, which was there. because we're concentrating on the styles at the moment. So let's go back in and edit the bullet again. This time I will change it. So I'll delete that one, go into here and choose something really different. Oh, how about that one? Something really huge. So we could do that. So you can change this completely. You can in there as well. It's chosen Arial because that's the font of the text that we have in there. But there's nothing to stop you going in here and choosing something else, which may have completely different options available to you. You could do that as well. So let's choose Poppins. What have we got in Poppins? Poppins is pretty similar to the others, to be honest. But you can here scroll across as well. So if you wanted that one, for instance, you could choose it. So you can choose anything in that dialog box and then configure it how you would like to configure it. Styles and all the rest of it we will come on to. But just to show you how you would do this to move it, that bulleted and numbered section, the bullets and numbering section, is in here in your text style definition box, separate from the spacing, which is exactly as it is in the paragraph panel. So in here we've got our left indent of 6.4. We then have the right indent underneath that, but the first line indent's under that. So if I put 10 in there, just like I did last time, you can see it's also got this issue where I type 10 in one box and it sticks 10 in another. So I could set that to 0. I would then maybe have to change this to get it in line. What I would do for speed is just say, yeah, that's fine, it's near enough. And then I would go into here, I would bring my ruler back, and I would fix it in here. So let's move that back. It's far easier to do it in here because I'm visualizing it. That is exactly what I want. But at that point, my text style has been edited manually outside of its definition, which means if I then go to another text box and apply the bullet style, it's not going to be lined up properly. All I need to do to get rid of the plus at the top is to right click on the bullet and say update it, and that will solve the problem. So I've done a hybrid edit there. Partly I edited it in the dialog box where it made sense to type things in, but then when it was slightly out, I've used the visual method and then written that back to the text style by updating the text style. And I would say that is the best way to do that. Right, everything we've been looking at so far has been the bulleted list. We are about to move on to the numbered list. So again, I'm going to close the file. I don't want any changes that I've made in any of these files to ripple through to the next demo. That way madness lies, trust me. So there is, just like there is a default bulleted list, there is a default numbered list that we can play with. So let's go and have a look at that. So let me open up the file dedicated to numbered, using it. There we go. And it's that one. Now, I'm also going to show you. No, I'm not. Oh, hang on. Did that not open? Looks like they're the same. So let's use this one. Right. Exactly the same information. So Command and A. You could manually turn this on. You could do this yourself in the paragraph dialog box if you wanted to, but don't do that because you're just making your own life more difficult. Use the text style and then edit as required. So in here, I'm just going to turn numbered on, and that's exactly what it's going to do. And you can see that list is now numbered. To show you that, we'll go in here and edit it and look at the bullets and numbering. And it's exactly the same as the bullets section. It's the same section. The only difference is that this style is using the second option in here, which follows the bullet, and this is the number. But you look in here, you've got lots of different numbered styles. So it could be that rather than have 1 to 9 not line up properly, yes, there are ways to do that, that you decide you'll put 0 at the beginning. So you choose a different style of numbering for it. But that is what you've done in there. So let's change that back to what the default would be. Also in here, you can make changes. So for instance, This now has 2 of the blue lozenges in it. It's got one at the beginning there, which is showing you a backslash and a hash symbol. That is the code for a number. This one, then you've got the full stop. Then the next one is your tab. So this number here, you could change that. That is how you would change it. So if you wanted in there to be able to change it, you could actually do that. Now, we'll come on and look at that, but at the moment, let's just imagine that this one here, our second bullet, needs to be indented. It's a second level one. Well, just like with the bullets, where we had bullet 1 and bullet 2, in here we have numbered 1 and numbered 2. So if I make that the style numbered 2, you can see what happens. Based on the definition of the style, it now has bullet 1 and full stop, and then we've got bullet 1.1 and a full stop. So that is a level 2 bullet. Well, numbered list. Okay, that is what you can do with that there. Now, there's going to be more than that you need to do. So that's using it, but what about editing it? Now, I'd be fractionally more careful editing the numbered list style. Triple check that the numbers do actually look like you want them to look when you've done it. But let's go in and have a look at that. So I think we can carry on using this one, because the next thing you might want to do is, what if I wanted a level 3? Well, I don't have a level 3 style. Now, we do know that if we go to the text and down to list, we can increase the levels. That one changes it to numbered 2. But if I wanted that to be numbered 3, and I go back to the list and I increase the level, that's not what I'm seeing. That is not what I'm getting at all. So that doesn't work too well, does it? This is the best thing you can do with that. We can also see that you've got differences here with how this is lined up now as well. There is a bigger gap here than there is on the first bullet. That is just something that, it's up to you to work out. Can you live with that? Do you want it indented? You might need to think about that. If you did want it indented, then you're going to have to start thinking about changing it. And the easiest way to change it is to turn the ruler on and have a look what's happening. Right, so this here, we move that. That's actually moving the number. So if I wanted that number to be there, but now my text is wrong, then I'm going to have a play around with this and get it into the right place. If that looks correct to me, write it back to the style. So right click on it and update the style. And notice that 1.2 immediately twanged to the correct place. Oh, we're getting somewhere now. But remember the issue. I need a level 3 and I want it to look right and work right and everything, if possible. Right. A couple of things I can do. I could make a completely new paragraph style. Remember, bullets and numbering are defined at the paragraph level of a style. But I've already got numbered 1 and numbered 2. So if I right-clicked on numbered 2, I could duplicate it. Now, if I duplicate a style and it has a number at the end, it automatically ups it by 1. That's how come it knew to name it correctly. I would probably have called this numbered 3. That doesn't always work. Now, what we have in here is the definition for the second level of numbering, not the third level. So this is why in the level drop-down, it says 2. We need this to be a level 3. Now, notice at this stage, it looks like nothing's happened, but it is a level 3. So your level of list item is independent, completely independent from how the list looks. The next option in here, we've now got 3 of these blue tablets. So the first one is saying that's a 1. The next one is saying the next number. And the last one is saying and a tab, if you don't mind. Right, we could at that point need to change that. I'm keeping it simple at the moment. We've also got all these other things and we need to sort the spacing out as well. But let's just try that and see what happens. So we have numbered 1 and numbered 2 and 3 are both children of numbered 1. Now, before I get the question, could numbered 3 be a child of numbered 2? Yes, it could. Which is right? There isn't a right answer. Depends on what you want. Totally depends on what you want. So at this level, I'm going to apply numbered 3. Oh dear. That's definitely not what we're looking for with that, because we would need to change that in the style. It should have another number at the end. So let's go back in here and edit it. And what we need to do in here is put something in after that one. So we do need a full stop, but we need another number in there. And that's not doing that too well. Hopefully I can copy the first one and that will work. Let's see if it does. There we go. Now, our issue now is it's not lined up properly. Oh, this is fun, isn't it? Isn't this great fun? That's why I showed how to turn this ruler on, because life's a lot easier with the ruler. So let's start moving this. You could leave it lined up with the level 2, or you could indent it if that's what you want. You want it indented to there. Now this is wrong, but that's fine, because we've got this at the bottom and we can start moving it. And we can make it that they all match beautifully, and we did not have to concern ourselves with the trigonometry that's going on in that dialog box to make this work. All we need to do is to update it. If you want to look at what's happened in there, you can certainly do that. And it would be under the spacing. So it's got 30 and 27. I didn't need to know that. I'm doing it visually and writing it back. And that will save you hours. Because your problem in here is, if it's 1 millimetre out, you think, oh, it's fine. It needs to be 1 millimetre less. And you type it in and then the bottom one changes. And then you're thinking, well, what was that? Because that needs to be what it was plus a millimetre. No, don't do any of that. Just use the ruler. Use the ruler and write it back. Okay, so now we've applied the numbered style. We've applied numbered 2. We've applied numbered 3. We've changed the numbering style entirely. We can do that as well. I can also show you in here. In fact, I will open that other one. Was that the one or was that one? That's the one. So this is just another copy of the file that in here, I can apply numbered 1, but I could go into that and then choose a different style entirely for the numbering. So I could choose lowercase Roman numerals, and that would then apply. Or I could choose A, B, C, D, and that could apply. I should have done more than 26, and then I'd have known what happened. I don't know what happens. We'll find out. Find out later. Right. So you can change all of that inside the style. If, however, so I'm going to cancel that. If you want to keep the numbered style, but you would like another numbering style available, then the easiest way to do that is just to duplicate numbered 1. Notice it's going to say numbered 3, and now that's not right. So let's say custom numbering. And OK. And I now have a new style that I could apply to this. It won't look any different than numbered 1 because I duplicated it. But I can go into here and I can choose one of the other numbering styles like that one. And now it's applied that. Just to show you, I'm going to shrink that down a bit and make a copy of it. The one on the left has our custom style, and the one on the right I'm going to turn back to numbered. So we have Roman numeral on the left and we have the numbered style on the right. So if you want multiple numbering styles within the same file, easiest to just duplicate the numbered one. At what point should you do that? Well, I would do it when I've sorted out where everything needs to be in terms of the left indent and the hanging indent. There's no point trying to fix it 5 times. Fix it in the numbered style and then duplicate it. Okay, so let me have a look at that. Have I done that? I think I have. Okay, let's go back into here then. Now the next style of list is a hybrid list. Now, I have seen this in academic papers, and it depends on your style guide. Isn't there the Chicago Guide of the Style Guide to Academic Papers? Something like that. So if you need a list but it needs to have numbers at the top, and then it needs to be ABC, and then it needs to be Roman numerals, right? You do not want to be juggling around with 3 different things. So what you can do is to create a completely new style of list that is a hybrid list. I promise after this it gets more fun. Right, let's go and have a look at that. Hang on a minute, that's what I need to do. Right, and let's lose that one, and let's lose that one. Again, I'm just starting from scratch rather than carry anything over that I have that's going to give me problems moving forward. So this is another brand new file, and it has the default styles in it. So if I'm starting with a bulleted list, I could duplicate the bulleted list style. If I'm starting numbered, if this list is to be numbered, then I could start with the numbered style. If you are creating a hybrid style, I would say make another style rather than edit either of these. Because if later in the document you need to go back and have a standard numbered list, it's easier to do it where you have this one to apply and your hybrid list was separate. So I'm making a decision here that my hybrid list is going to start with a number. So that's what I will do first of all. So let me, with that, duplicate the numbered style. So I'm going to duplicate it. You'll notice again it offers numbered 3. That is not what I want for that, not at all, because I may want a level 3. So I would call this hybrid because that's what it is. So hybrid list. The top level is going to be a number. It's as simple as that. So if I leave that like that and I select everything in here and I go and apply my hybrid style, everything's got a number. This one needs to be at a level 2 and this one needs to be at a level 3. Right. Looks wise, it probably needs to look similar because bear in mind the font that you use for this list is going to come from this style. So at the moment, the base style for this file is Arial. I will make lots of changes in the hybrid one. So I'm going to edit this and I'm going to change the font to Poppins and I will change the font size down to 10 as well. So I've not changed the numbering at this stage, I've changed the look of it. Because of that, when I come to make my level 2, instead of just making a style or duplicating that style, I'm going to say, make me a style based on this style. And that will mean that my hybrid list 2 style will inherit everything from its parent, which is the hybrid list style. So I will do that. It says style at the top. It doesn't even make an attempt to name it. But I am correct in how it's working because in the style section, it says it's based on hybrid list and the style settings at the bottom also confirm that. So I will call this hybrid list 2. It's going to be a level 2. All right. At this point, it's identical. So if I go to my second bullet and I apply my hybrid list 2, it's identical. I need to do some work in here. Right. Now, I don't need to change the font. If I want to change the font, then I would change it as high up the style tree as I can, which in this case is hybrid list 1, the top level of it. I don't need to do that. What I need to concentrate on is my bullets and numbering here. Now, at the moment, it's saying no change. It's got levels and all kinds of stuff. But remember, for the level 2, I wanted it to be different. I didn't want it to be a number. I wanted it to be a letter. So I'm going to choose a letter. Now, notice at that point, it's put B. Now, that's because its level at the moment is following 1. And for a bullet that's the second bullet in the list, formatted as a type of alphabetical, 2 would be B. But you'll notice the level, that also says no change, but I need to change it. it's going to be a level 2. At that point, it goes back to say, oh, right, this is the first instance of the level 2, and that means it needs to be an A. And indeed it does. So it's correct semantically. What isn't correct is how it looks on the screen. If that is subordinate to number 1, it needs to be indented. Oh joy, the spacing section. Right, I'm going to need to make some changes in here. Oh, let's have some fun. Right, I want to left indented a bit. Well, let's try the 6.4 that we've had luck with that so far, haven't we? Good, no t-shirt. Right, because it's also done the first line thing and all the rest of it. Oh, let's do it the easy way, shall we? And then go back in and see what it says. Which is, turn your ruler on. This is a superpower. This ruler is a superpower. Not to mention a godsend. Right, let's put it there, so it's under there. And then let's use the bottom one to make sure that the text lines up properly. How close do we want the text to that? And now I'm in the top when I should be in the bottom. Right, let's do that a little bit more. Let's have it indented fractional like that. At which point, I'm going to go back into here and I'm going to update it. And then I'm going to check it and see what I needed to put. Oh, 13 and 10, just like random. Fair enough. So 13 and 10 would have fixed that. I could have typed those in if I'd have known what numbers they need to be, but I'm not clairvoyant. Are you? I think not. So that's how I did that. Right, that's our level 2. This one needs to be our level 3. And this time, it's not going to be a 1. It's not going to be an A. It's going to be something entirely different. So I'm going to duplicate the hybrid style. Now, I could either duplicate it or I could create a style based on the hybrid list style. Whichever you choose, it doesn't matter. It's up to you how you choose to organize your styles. I'll just duplicate this. This gives us a level 3, so it names it correctly. And in our bullets and numbering, we need to make some changes. So I don't want this to be a 1. I don't want this to be the Roman numerals. No, hang on, the A. I'll have it as the little a, so we'll go lowercase with this. It is going to be a level 3, so I need to make it a level 3. And I'm wondering why that hasn't changed yet. Maybe I didn't apply it. We'll worry about that down the line. Okay, so I've changed the type, I've changed the level, and obviously I need to change its spacing. Well, at the moment it's 13 and 10. I wonder what would happen if we just made it 18 and 13. It might work, might not. We'll have a look. Right, it's not applied yet, so I need to go and apply it to that text. Not bad, but not perfect. That's why we're going to fix it in here. The A needs to be further to the right, the text needs to be closer to the A. So we'll move that first to get it lined up there. And then we will use the bottom one and we'll have that much of a space. That will have made the hybrid list 3 custom. We will need to update it and then we can go in and check what the numbers were. So how far was my guess off? Oh, I was only 1 millimetre off the top, but I was quite considerably off at the bottom. So it's 19 and 16 for that one. And you now have a custom hybrid list. So what I'm going to do with that is move this in and put them side by side. So I will copy and paste that. And you're ignoring me. Right, move it across there. What I'll do first is make sure that I take all of that away. So there's no list style on this right hand side at all. And what I will do with it is take the first ones here, well, the first one, and I will apply the hybrid. The second one is going to be at level 2 and the third one is at level 3. Now, if this list happened to be where you always have 1, 1 and 1, then there's something you could do to make formatting that a bit faster. So I'm undoing. Right, in the hybrid list style, you could in here, that you can say what it's based on. So it's based on the base style, but when you're typing, what's the next style? And I could say, oh, right, it's going to be in here. It's going to be the level 2. and OK. And then I can go into the level 3 and edit that and say, what's the next one? And that would be, in this case, no, hang on, I need to change 1 and 2, not 2 and 3. Just a minute. Right, let's go into there. That's hybrid list 2, that's fine. I need to change 2 and link that to 3. So in there, I'm going to choose 3. What that means is, if I'm up here and I apply my hybrid list style and I press enter, I automatically get my level 2. And if I press enter again, I automatically get my level 3. So I know list styles are confusing, overwhelming, and seem to have a mind of their own, but controlled properly, they can be a joy to use because you can whip through and create things so much faster than you would if you were doing it manually. So that is how to create a hybrid style and edit a hybrid style and apply a hybrid style if you're typing things in. Now, I do have to bear in mind, most of the time, you're probably not typing straight into Affinity. Most of the time, you'll be bringing things in from elsewhere. There are magic things you can do with find and replace when it comes to bullets, and I've demonstrated it several times. Check out the text style session if you want to see that. Okay, I'm going to close that down. And we're going to head back in here. Right, now we've got the hang of the lists, we're going to get clever with it. This is the fun bit. So all of the tricky stuff is now over. We're going to look at formatting initial words. So what do I mean by that, first of all? Well, let's have a look what I mean by that. So I think I have a sample in here. I do. So what we're looking at is something I'll show you the last one, because that's what we're aiming for, right? Which is this. So we have a bulleted list. Automatically, it is formatting it as bold and highlighting the dates at the beginning of the list. And that's happening automatically. I go in here, you can see it's just the bullet style, but clearly I have made magic with it somewhere to make it do that. So we're going to work up to that one, but we're actually going to start with just a plain file here. So what you would do to format this. Initial words can be formatted whether they're in a list or not. I'm just using this as an example in relation to the lists. So all of these have a date at the beginning. The dates are different lengths. So obviously November got more characters than January and so forth. You can see that I've finished it with a colon after the date, and then we have a bullet at the beginning. So when this was brought in, it would have looked like that. It would have just been text with no style. I selected it all and I applied bullet 1. And that was all I did. Now, if what I want is to have this date in bold, so it would look like that, who wants to go through that list and do that with every date? Don't do that. I know you can, but don't do that. Because when you do that, a client will say to you, and I want the dates bold. And then when they see them, I know I don't. I want them metallic and green. And you're like, oh dear, you formatted them manually. That's not good news. But done this way, it's completely flexible. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to edit bullet 1. But obviously what I've already talked to you about in terms of different bullet styles, this is probably a situation where you would make another one. So purely for speed, I'm going to go in and edit bullet 1. Now, all of the bullet settings in the bullets and numbering are fine. I'm very happy with that. That's fine. I'm even happy with all of the spacing. But what I am interested in is the initial words. So you will find this initial words and the drop caps and the bullets and the spacing in all your styles. But most of the time, with some of these, you've probably never even been into them. But the initial words is where you are going to set up what happens with those initial words. So the first thing is you need to put a tick in enabled. That will then enable that. You can choose a maximum word count. Now, that's fine if it's words. In this case, we need it to be automatic. I don't want a specific number of words. Would 3 words work? It might if it includes numbers as words. Who knows? But we might as well do it automatically. So the end character here, you get to choose what the end character is. And I've chosen a colon, which is what is at the end of it. Now, that's telling it what. So first of all, I need to make sure that's actually enabled. Make sure it's got a tick in it. It looks like that to start with, and then you put one, you click it once and you get a minus sign. Make sure it's got a tick in it. Right, that's telling it what. It's not telling it what it looks like. You tell it what it looks like, what those initial words look like, by applying a style to it. But you should be saying to me, can't do that. I've already got the style applied, got the bullet style applied. You have. But remember that the bullets are defined at the paragraph style level. And character styles can be applied on top of paragraph styles. So when it says style, and you look at what's available, they are all character styles in here. And strong is what it calls bold. It comes from the internet HTML language. So I've chosen strong, and it has automatically formatted those initial words to look like that. Simple as that. Right. Is that it is. Right. Okay. I should probably make some changes to that then. Let me have a quick look. I think I've got an extra style that I don't need at the moment, but that's our first one. I'm going to do 4 different ones. So that is our bold. What do I do if I want it to be italic? Well, I go back into my bullet style and I edit it. And in here, we have emphasis. And emphasis means italic. And now it's changed to italic. So far, so good. The next thing I want to do, and I've already done that, which is silly of me, so let's delete that. Right. The next thing I want to do is have it where it's highlighted. Right, so it looks totally different than that. Needs to be highlighted. Now, if I go into my bullet and I think, well, I'm going to need a new style in here. This is italic, and that is bold, and that is bold and italic. So I can choose that, and I've now got bold and italic. But what I actually needed was the highlight one. I wanted it to be highlighted. Now, I find this a bit strange. To me, this is another bug, error, whatever you want to call it. Oversight. There we go. Oversight. Because in here, I can say no change. I can say no style. Or I can choose an existing style. What I can't do is make a new style. Not from here. Now, the reason that I find that a little bit weird is, in our paragraph panel, this endless panel, let's drag that out again so we can see the whole thing. Right, in here, if I was formatting my hang on, where are we? Initial words. Right, here's my initial words. And you can see at the moment it's saying 3 initial words, blah, blah, blah. But notice that it says strong emphasis. That's correct. If I were to click in there, oh, look, I can make a new style. It's more important to me. I'm not going to be in here. I'm going to be in the style dialog, not in here. This is far too overwhelming and fiddly to play with. But there is an option in here to make a new style. There is no option to do that in the text styles panel, which is most unfortunate. But we can fix it. Right. All you would need to do is come out of your text style panel and make a new character style at the bottom. So this is going to be a completely new character style, which is going to be highlight. Doesn't need to be based on anything. What we do need to do in here is in our characters, where are we? Colours. We have the option to specify 2 colours, the colour of the font and the background colour. And what we need to do for the highlight is specify the background colour. So I could use the swatches if I've got swatches, and there is a lovely yellow there that works nicely. Or I could have a global colour, which would be a better idea entirely, but it's a demo, so let's just choose yellow. And OK. Now, where I was in my document, you can see that's applied. If I select another part of that and I apply that, it will apply. That is not really what I want to do with that. Let's get back to the fact that it is just the bulleted style and clear everything else. Right, let's go into the bullet style and edit it. Instead of strong emphasis, we should now have our highlight available, and we can click that in there. So we did have to come out of this dialog box to create it, but once it is created, it can be used. And there is the highlight. Now, if what I wanted then was to have it bold and highlighted, then you should have a clue what the best way to do that is, because bold, which is strong, and bold italic, which is strong emphasis, one is the child of the other. So what I would do with that is, let's make a new style. So we will create a style based on bold or strong, call it what you like. And this one is going to be strong highlight. Have I spelt that right? Oh, that's amazing. Right. So that's what that style is going to be. And that appears down here. And I've done that wrong, haven't I? Let me delete that and do it again. I definitely said that, and I definitely said base it on strong. Tell me that you're now right. That looks right. Strong highlight. Right. And okay there. Right. So that's down the bottom here. So what I need to do now is format that so it works. So I'm going to go in and edit it. I'm going to go into the colour and decoration. And it's going to be identical. I'm going to choose the yellow. Now notice, I don't have to in here change this to bold, because at the bottom it's going to apply the bold from the bold style. So let's OK on that. Right, still not applied yet. It's not applied because I haven't edited bullet 1 to refer to strong highlight. So there's a lot of dancing involved in this. So I'm going back up here and to my initial words. Where this is set to highlight, I now have strong highlight available. And what that does is apply two character styles. It applies the strong and it applies the highlight. And how I did that was by creating a child's character style belonging to strong. And it will apply to the beginning. Now, if I thought, well, let's say that it's July and I'm getting rid of all of these from last year, and I decide at this point I don't need the 2026. It will automatically pull backwards because I didn't say do 3 words. I said stop when you encounter the colon at the end. So if I added something to that one it didn't add on. So let's say put 2027 because it limited it to 3 words. In that case, you might want to go in and edit that and add it. So if that's strong highlight, let's go and edit it. And let's go into here. Did we do it in here or did we do it in the other one? I think we did it in the bullet. Let's have a look. Did we do it in here? Initial words. Max word count, no change. Right, if I say 2, it will apply to 2. If I say 3, it will apply to 3. But it will stop when it comes to that colon. So the bottom one, which has far too many numbers for its own good, it will include it. If I wanted that up to maybe 8, say, then what I might want to do here is just add more information. And it will stop when it runs out of what I set it to. So good grief, we're so close to 2031, aren't we? There we go. So it will run out in the end because I said 8 and it's applied to 8 words. So that takes priority over the stop at the colon, but you get the idea that you can have as much information in there and it doesn't have to match. So you could have more words. That's how you would define that. Okay, so that's initial words. Right, let's lose that. So we saw all 4 of those. And you will find that in the bonus pack as well. Right. I'm not expecting to see that next, but we'll do that one next if you like. I think I've done them in the wrong order. But controlling the colour of the bullet. This one's actually quite tricky. But worth it. Worth it. So let's do the colour of the bullet then. I did add those the wrong way around. What did I? I don't know what I'm doing, do I? No, I do. It's fine. Right, controlling the colour of the bullets. Right, I'm going to show you a file. You've seen this file before. This is the last page in one of my books. And this is where I came across the problem for the first time, which is I wanted to have a little bulleted list. And that was fine. It worked fine. And that is exactly how I wanted it to look. This is the after. I wanted to have a list of socials, and I wanted the bullet to be the colour of the text. And it was, until I applied the hyperlinks. Right, that's what I wanted. What I got was that. As soon as I applied the hyperlinks, and trust me, it gets worse than this, the bullets changed to the colour of the hyperlinks, which was not what I wanted at all. So that's the problem. I have a file to demonstrate. So I started with this here, just a plain, 5 lines of text. So let's do that. Let's apply the bullet style. And I've got a bulleted list. And my bullets are the colour of the text. That's exactly what I would expect. That is what I would expect. But I then wanted to put URLs in. So I Command and K, Control and K on Windows, and I'm going to put in my URL to my blog. Right. In this dialog, you choose the type of link, which in this case is URL. You give it the URL, and then it's going to apply a character style. And the character style is called hyperlink, and it's coming from down here. These are the default styles. So that's when that happened. 1, that blue is offensive, and 2, the bullet changed colour. What that looks like when you've added all of these links is even worse. It looks like that. I couldn't live with it. I thought, no, it's going to have to go. I can't live with it. Right. The first thing that I wanted to do was change the colour of the hyperlinks, because that blue, no, it's not going to match the rest of my text. That looks like 1994 called and wants its links back. So that's easy fixed. You go to the hyperlink style and you edit it. And in the colour, you can see it has a colour defined, not the colour that I want. I, however, do have a colour that I want. And I have that in here. You can see it's called hyperlink colour, hyperlink blue. So what I'm going to do is press enter. That will copy that hex code to my clipboard. And I will go into here and paste it in there. And it is this much more muted petrol blue colour. Right, I could actually live with that if I needed to. But luckily, I don't have to. In exactly the same way, so extract principle here, this is in exactly the same way as we applied the highlight, I can go in and I can fix this. In the bullet style, if I go in to edit the bullet style, and we look at the options in the bullets and numbering, we've looked at bullet, we've looked at levels, we've looked at text, there was a style option. And from the style option, we have listed all of our character styles. Again, I can't create a new one. So I'm going to need to come out of there and I need to create a character style. All I need to do with it, and it doesn't need to be based on anything, so it doesn't need anything in there. All I need to do is tell it what the colour is, what the font colour is. Now, it's not going to be the colour of the hyperlink. It's going to be, in my case, a very, very dark blue. So almost black. Take it back there. That should be almost black, but it is blue. That is all I've done. If we look at the settings at the bottom, literally all I've done is set a font colour. So whereas this is saying hyperlink 1, that's useless, right? This is the bullet colour. That's it. And if I want that bullet colour used in multiple lists, I can do that. So that's the only thing that's defined in the character style called bullet colour. to get that to apply to this list, what we need to do is edit the bullet 1 style. I'll move that so you can see it. And in the style of it, choose the bullet colour and click OK. And that recolours the bullets. It leaves everything else alone, but the bullets are now, in my case, the colour of the text. If you wanted them to be something psychedelic, feel free. Go back into the character style and let's choose a hideous pink. Pink stinks. Let's choose a pink. Right, let's grab this. Oh, yes, something lurid. And you can see it's automatically changing. So you are defining and redefining here the bullet style by just changing the colour in a character style that is already linked to your bullet style, like that. That's not bad, is it? Right. Come out of there. And the next one was a question that I got, which was working with drop caps in a list. My first thought was why, but then I thought, well, that floats your boat. So there is an issue that you will come across, and I'm assuming this question was related to the issue that I will show you. So in here, I have another file. This one looks fractionally different, but I can assure you the text is identical. So I've just put it in 2 columns. The reason I put it in 2 columns is if we want to apply a drop cap, we need some text for it to drop into, don't we? So that is why I did that. So Command and A or Control and A, select the whole lot, and I will just apply here the standard bullet 1. So far, so good. Now, inside bullet 1 is where I would apply my drop caps. So down towards the bottom, we have the opportunity to use drop caps. First of all, make sure it's got a tick in it and it's enabled. I don't really have to say anything else, do I? I think you can instantly see the problem. Because to make a drop cap, it takes the first letter and makes it huge. It also makes the bullet huge as well. Great. Now you can in here decide how many lines you want the drop cap to be. So you could in there change that to 2 and it would be slightly smaller. And the bullet is now, you might be able to live with it. You might not, depends. All right. But let's leave it at 3 so it's absolutely hideous. So that is the problem that you would get with it. And you solve it in a very similar way. So if what we're trying to do is now control not the colour of this bullet, but the size of it, what we can do is we can create a character style. Doesn't need to be based on anything. And I'm going to go into one of these options that you've probably never seen, which is position and transform. And towards the bottom, you can set a scale for this. So if I make this 50% and 50%, you can see, well, the bullet's better, but good grief, what's happened to everything else? I'll explain what's happened to everything else. I've just made this style and made it 50%. What happened, and this will doubtless happen to you at some point or another, what happened is I already had that text selected. So it said, oh, right, I'll apply it to the whole lot then. And it did. So we've got it applied down here. We didn't even name that style. That one would be bullet size. And it's applied it to everything. All right. So what I need to do with that is to say there's no style on it. Right. Now we're back to where we were. We have the bullet style applied, but bullet size is playing nicely in its own little sandbox at the bottom. If I want that bullet size to impact the size of the bullets, I need to hook it up to bullet 1. So I'm going to go into there and edit it. And it's going to be in the bullets and numbering. I'm going to apply the style in there. Apply the bullet size and OK. And now we have a reasonably sized bullet in totally the wrong place. You would either want that at the top of the 2 or in the middle of it, but certainly not where it is right now. That's okay, we can fix that as well. Inside the character style, back to the position and transform, and this was the size of it, but you also have the opportunity here to change the baseline. And as you move that, it moves up and down. So you could have it in the middle of the thing. You could have it quite low at the bottom like that. Or you could take it up. And you can do that. You can keep going. So if you wanted it right at the top, you could do that. I think it probably looks better, well, fractionally better in the middle. It's about 8. But you can do that inside the character style. So now you've got a drop-capped bulleted list where the bullet isn't absolutely massive. You get to control the size of that bullet. And the same principle applies to any other style of bullet. If you've got the perfect glyph that you've used for a bullet, but it's a bit too small, you can use a bullet size character style to make it bigger and apply that to the paragraph style that is giving it a bullet. Let's have some fun now. I mean, that was fun, wasn't it? But it's not as much fun as this. Right, custom bullets. You've seen me change the bullet from a circle to a square. You can do so much more than that, though. You can. Only limited by your imagination. So I'm going to get another new file, which is this one. Again, it's the same data. It's just that I'm clearing stuff off it. So this time I'm going to make a completely custom bullet. I will apply the bullet one, or I could create a new style, but I will edit bullet one. And in there, I'm going to bullets and numbering. And I've shown you at this point that you can delete the bullet and you can apply any of these. And indeed you can, but you're not limited to that. Because this box, this text box here, you can just type into it. So I'm using Raycast for this. You can use whatever you like. I'm looking through my emojis. Let's say we want the red dot, followed by a tab. And OK. And then let's apply bullet one. And we've now got an emoji. I can't leave it there. You know I can't. I'm going to have to go back to here to show you that in here, you're not even limited in terms of what you can do. I mean, it's got to be done, hasn't it? We've got to have the smiling pile of poo icon. We've got to. Right, that is for level 1. Now, if we come to this one and we apply bullet 2, oh, it's gone back to boring. Oh, come on. Right, let's go into edit. And it's got a square at the moment. Let's take that out and say, well, if it's a level 2, it deserves 2, doesn't it? So I'm going to copy that and paste it in, and now it's got 2. You can see we also have the moving problem that we are going to have to deal with, but it can be dealt with. Let's turn that on and have a play around with that. That's not too bad, but I want it hanging. So let's move that to there. And last thing to do, write it back. And there we go. You can have any of those, and you can mix and match with the things that I've done already. So nothing to stop you creating a character style that is the bullet size. Colour wouldn't make much sense with this, but bullet size would. And position and transform. And this time, instead of making it smaller, let's make it bigger. And OK. It's not applying at the moment, but that's because I haven't hooked up the character style with the paragraph style. But if I go in here and I do that, where it says style, and I say bullet size, now everything's much bigger. Now I know at that point we'd have to rearrange the ruler, but it's principle. You get the idea. Who doesn't want to play around with the size of the bullets, particularly if they're emojis? So any emoji could be used for that. It really doesn't matter. And the emojis, the range that are available are increasing all of the time. Okay. Right, next thing we're going to do. Oh, why aren't you doing that? What are you doing? That's better. Right, is working with decorations. This was one of these things I actually said to Mike the other day. I got to bed and I couldn't sleep, and I thought, oh, I wonder. And there isn't an iPad version, so I had to wonder until I got back into the office. Could you work with decorations inside a list? For me, this is more than just a theoretical thing. When I'm writing tutorials up, I often have sort of 5 to 8 steps that you need to follow. And that list would be in the middle of some text explaining why. And I would like to be able to delineate the bulleted list to make it clearer that these are the steps. And I thought, I wonder if I can do that with decoration. And of course, the answer to that is yes. So I have a file set up for this. This one again is slightly different. There we go. This one's got some headings in it. So these were all the sessions in November, December, January, and February. And I want these to be bulleted, but I want them to kind of stand out as well. So I'll take the first one and I will apply bullet 1. And it gives me a reasonable bulleted list, but it's not exactly fancy. But what I can do in bullet 1, I can edit it. Let's have a look so we can see it. And we can do magic. We have a decorations section. By default, it's not enabled. But if we put a tick in it, now it's enabled. Doesn't look any different because we've not defined anything yet. But let's say that I want a line at the top of it. And I want that line to be just above it. And I'd like the line to be a little bit thicker as well. So a 2 or 3 point line. Let's say a 2. That gives me a line at the top. If I then want a line at the bottom, I'll do that as well. So we'll put a line at the bottom, like that. And we've got a line at the bottom. Now, you may be thinking, well, just a minute. Really? Have we? Because every other time you create anything in here, it applies at the paragraph level. And each of these bullets is a separate paragraph. So why is it actually working? Why is it working by default? Because what I would maybe have expected is a line above and below each bullet. It's guessed that that's not what you want by putting a tick in combine identical automatically. If that tick weren't there, that's exactly what it would look like. Oh dear, oh dear. What this does is enable you to have something before and after the list by combining identical styles to give you only one before the list and one after the list. Now, the only other thing that I would do in here, and this is purely so this looks reasonable, is in the alignment, I would justify this so it's the full width. And I'm doing that because otherwise the line will be all over the place. But that is how I set that up. You can then apply that, and you don't have to do anything magic to have it only at the top and only at the bottom, other than apply the style. That's it. What I then thought was, for my instructions, wouldn't it be nice if they were highlighted as well? I thought, that's right, girl, go and push it. Right, so back in my bullets, and back in the bit that is talking about decoration, you have one more option, which is this one at the end. And that is, these are the lines to the left, top, right and bottom. And this one is the fill. And when I click that, by default, it gives me a grey fill over here. You don't have to have it as a grey fill if you don't want. If you want to really highlight that, maybe if you're writing a tutorial for Affinity, you want it Shrek green, like that. Something like that. But you can do that in there with the fill. Notice nothing has happened to January and February because I didn't apply the bullet style. But now when I'm applying the bullet style, whoa, it's applying much more than the bullet. It's applying formatting, the background colour. It could apply highlights if you wanted. It could make these bold for the dates. That's probably a good one to use, isn't it? If we wanted to do that, remember, we can go back into here. This time, we're looking at the initial words. We are going to enable it. We want to choose the strong style. At this point, that has actually worked, but I would tend to put manually in there what I wanted as well. And there you go. So just applying, if we took away the bulleted list style on that by applying body, just look how many changes have applied automatically, just by applying the list style. It's genius, isn't it? I have two more things, both of which you have seen before. But they're worth seeing again, if I say so myself. Because at this point, you've seen it, you've maybe even done it, but now you totally understand lists. Tell me in the chat that you do totally understand lists and that you're energized to try them now. Global lists will make more sense. So I've used global lists several times. I've got the demo file that I did this with a good few weeks ago, which is the trifold mailer that was the Chinese menu. And at the time, it was a case of this is what you can do in terms of this needs to be a bulleted list. It also needs to have tab leaders on it and have these aligned to the decimal, which we did with a custom style called menu item. This menu item, though, didn't have the numbering turned on nor the tab leaders, but now you understand lists, it should become clear how it all works. So each one of these items is formatted as menu item. All you need to do to make magic with this is go into the bullets and numbering. You can see it says no list. Well, you're going to need a list, obviously, and it's going to need to be numbered. And it would make sense for alignment purposes if it was the 0 leaders on that as well. Right, so that gives them numbers. But notice we have a problem, and that is the starters are numbered 1 to 10. But the poultry dishes are also 1 to 6, and then we've got the beef. It's basically restarting every time there is something interrupts the list. So in this case, the mains header is interrupting the list, and the poultry header and the beef header, they're interrupting the list. What we need to do is say to the list, carry on regardless. As long as you're formatted with menu item, just keep counting up. And that is what a global list is for. So you need to make sure, first of all, that you have a tick in global. You then need to name the global list. Otherwise, Affinity will get very upset. So I'm going to call this menu items. I am starting the numbering at 1, and everything I've done so far has made no difference. Right? If you look, 1 to 10, 1 to 6, it's not working. But that's because you need to tell it when to restart the numbering. And no change isn't going to do it. What you need to do is say, when I tell you, and at no other point, which is what the manual option does. When I set that, we're done in terms of the numbering. 1 to 10, 11 to 16, and so forth, all the way up to 52. The only other change I would have needed to make to that is to give us the tab leaders. So go into the edit, and this time that's nothing to do with the bullets and numbering. Although you might argue with me and say, but it's a bulleted list. I know it is. But tab leaders are, as the name implies, to do with the tab stops and where they are. And at the moment, it's there, but there isn't one. And what I need to do with this is change that to ... and there we are. Now it's finished. Absolutely perfect. So I know you've seen that before, but now you know how the lists work, you've probably got a much clearer idea of why it's working. It's a global list, that one. And it's mixed in with the fact that it's a numbered list, it's a global list, it's got tab stops in it, it's got tab leaders in it, it's got a decimal tab stop in it at 71, which you can see just up there. So that's what this is talking about. It's a decimal tab stop. So now you would understand, hopefully, why it's working, rather than just follow these steps and it'll work. You understand why it's working. Okay, let's come out there. And the last one is the numbered list calendar. Again, I got lots of questions about this one because it's so appealing, isn't it? It should make much more sense now. So let's go and have a look at that. So into my numbered list file. So this is just a screenshot at the top. Right, or is it? Did I do a screenshot? No, I don't think I did. Right. What we want is for the bottom table, it's a table, to be formatted in the way that the top one is. And what you don't want to do, we don't need that one, but what you don't want to do is have that where weirdness is happening. In terms of, well, I'd have to go and find a calendar and when's the first day of the month and the rest of it. You want it as fast as humanly possible. Now, formatting wise, it will be as fast as humanly possible because it will have some styles in it. But as you can see, I need to select Sunday. So let me select those. So there are 5 Sundays in March. I'm making a non-contiguous selection by holding the Command key down. And we need all of those. And we need Monday and Tuesday over there. So with those selected, what I'm then going to go and do is go to the paragraph panel. And we're not interested in spacing and all the rest of that at the moment. We're interested in making it a list, a numbered list. So we turn the numbering on, which we've done before, but now you understand what's going on. We don't need the tab, we don't need the full stop. And that is automatically centering it in there. That is what we need, like that. And it's as simple as that. So if you want a calendar, you want it fast, that is a good way to do it. Now, what people did say was, all right, if this was February and you only needed 28 days or whatever, let's say you don't need this one, right? I'm pressing the delete key and nothing's happening. I'm pressing the backspace key and nothing is happening. If I want to get rid of that because I've put it in error, there's a couple of things I can do. I can either turn the numbering off in just that cell, or I can press enter. And I got the question, well, why does that work? Well, it's easier than you would imagine. I'm going to add a page and just show you what happens with a text box. So we come into here and we'll turn on our bullet style. This is how a bullet behaves. In fact, it's a numbering style, isn't it? Turn on numbering. Turn on numbering and zoom in. Right. If we have an item 1 and item 2, it will carry on numbering the list. But what happens if I press enter? It goes away. And that's why it goes away in here. So if it happened to be February, click in the cell, enter. There, click in the cell, enter, and it disappears. Now you say to me, oh, you made a mistake. It needs to have these. So select them again. And in our paragraph, you can see there's no list. But if we say a numbered one, which was that one, wasn't it? It does come back with the default formatting, but that's easy enough to get rid of. Just delete those two, press enter, and they're back. So it's a very quick way to create a numbered calendar, and it works for any month, obviously. Okay, let me go in here. So, all those hours ago, can you remember, is it a list? Now you can see, I hope, why it's important whether it's a real list and not a faux list. I know a faux list would look absolutely fine as a PDF, but it would hamper you formatting it and saving so much time. We worked through the common gotchas and then we looked at manual lists and text style based lists. We created a custom list, a custom hybrid list. Then we got clever with lists. And of course, we have a bonus, which is a lot of the files that I've used tonight, so you can have a practice with them and actually follow along. I'll show you what that looks like in terms of, let me go and find it. I have, let's put those in there. Right. In here, I have this zip file. This is the zip file you will get. You double click that and it opens up all of these. And you've got everything from, is it a bulleted list, which is that spread, so you can check it. Is it a numbered list? You've got the manually formatted list, so you can actually go in and select it and think, oh, right, I see the difference. You've got the text style list. You've got a manually formatted numbered list where the numbers were actually in the text file that I brought in. And again, it looks absolutely fine until you try and add an item. And now you've got 4 and 5 separated, which is why understanding lists is important. We've got the text style numbered list. We've got a custom list, which I made. We've got one that I put a custom number in where I've got demo at the beginning. We've got that hybrid list that went 1 to capital A to lowercase. We've got all of the initial words, the bold, the strong emphasis, the highlight, and the strong highlight. We've got the controlling the colour of the bullets, sizing the bullets because of the drop cap issue, custom bullets. I didn't use the smiling pile of poo, I used the diamond. Then we've got the decoration in there, and finally the calendar, so you can play along at home. with everything that we've got there. And you will find that at elainegiles.com/scp-products-list-resources-for-affinity. And I can assure you the QR code works this week. It was checked. In fact, it nearly caused a domestic, didn't it, Mike? Going to admit what you did?
No.
No, he's not. I'll tell you later what he did. Right. Well, yes, it was actually more something he didn't do. Right, so youtube.com/ElaineGiles is where you will find everything, including our Affinity with Elaine playlist, which you can get at that QR code, which includes everything going back to last November, which was everything you needed to know to get started with Affinity, then creating your first layout. We did data merge. We did calendars. That's the first time we did the calendar thing you've just seen. I think we repeated that in the creating planner pages, as well as the photo books and the trifold brochure. So although you might be thinking, well, I'm not making a photo book, I'm not making a trifold brochure. I know. But the techniques that we use transfer between what I did and what you might want to do. We also did scrapbooking and recipes and colours and textiles. Textiles is probably one not to be missed. Together with mastering master pages. I think they are core skills that you need to know, and probably the graphics as well. And today we looked at bullets and numbers in terms of bulleted and numbered lists. Right, why is that on the wrong screen? Never mind. Okay, if you have found that useful, enjoyable, give us a like, always makes a difference with YouTube, and subscribe. That way you will get notifications of everything that we do. And give us a comment. Unfortunately, all of the chat, which is fantastic during the session, they're not comments, and you can't leave a comment until we've actually finished. But comments are YouTube currency. YouTube counts the comments before deciding if your video is worth sharing. So even if you've been with us live, please do put a comment on there. And if you've made it this far, our emoji this week is the little target icon for bullets and numbered lists. So if you can find that, it's the bullseye icon, I believe. I don't know whether you'd find it with Dart, but it's the bullseye icon, so use that as well. Right, what have we got next time? Well, next time, Australia are not going to like us because we're back. We're back to where we were, which is Sunday at 3 o'clock. But we're doing mock-ups in Affinity by Canva. So we're moving on. Well, you can use mock-ups in the layout view, but you spend more time in the pixel view creating them. So when I used to do mock-ups, it's something I would demonstrate in Affinity Photo. But now it's an integrated app. You don't have to move between the apps to use it. So that is what we will be doing next week. I probably do, don't I? I'd forgotten that little monster was happening. Oh, right. Mike's just reminded me that we are in what we call Do Not Copy and Paste Week. This harks back to basically what's happening is America are changing their clock. So if you're in America, it's going to be an entirely different time. It is still going to be 3 p.m. UK time, so 3 p.m. GMT. But instead of being, I'm quickly calculating, 7 a.m., you're going to get an extra hour in bed. It's going to be 7 hours difference from us on the West Coast. So it will be 8 o'clock. And if you're on the East Coast, it will be 11 o'clock. If you're in Europe, you're with us. So don't worry about it. Nothing's changing. We are not changing our clocks until the end of March. So it's going to be like this for the next 3 to 4 weeks, that's why we call it Do Not Copy and Paste Week. Because many moons ago, we used an application called BusyCal, and we could quite happily copy and paste repeating events from week to week, except in Do Not Copy and Paste Week, when it put it out by 2 hours. Not even one, put it out by 2. So everything had to be done by hand, and the name stuck. But basically, we're out of sync for 3 to 4 weeks, so you've been warned. So I'll probably mention that again next week, won't I, Mike? Right, we've got a behind-the-scenes sneaky peek. If you are on my mailing list, you will know I give you a running commentary on what mood Mike is in, depending on the football. And last weekend, there was no game. There was no game the weekend before either. Should I mention that was because they got knocked out the cup? Or should I not mention that, Mike? Don't mention that. But there were 2 weekends with no football. But as I reported last week, Monday night was the big night. And there he is, a behind the scenes sneak peek of how he consumes his football. There's the Everton player who they didn't play bad, did they? But they didn't win. United won. So he's looking a bit nervy at that point. But I'm happy to report by the end of the night they'd won and he was a happy boy. Okay, thank you for being with us. I hope you found that useful. You will find me on the socials, pretty much blue sky. I'm not great everywhere else. But if you've got a question, the best thing you can do is go to my blog at elainegiles.co.uk and use the contact form, and I will endeavour to get back to you. You will find everything in the newsletter, including updates on Mike's football watching. Who doesn't want those? And first notification of everything. So best get signed up to that, I would say, because this week I will make absolutely certain that the times that are in the newsletter are correct for everybody, no matter where you are. I always put a link in that links out to timeanddate.com, and that will be correct in your time zone wherever you are, or at least that's what they tell me. So make sure that you are signed up. But other than that, let's go into Q&A. So what have we got question-wise, Mike?
Right. First one is from Pete Lax. Now, this one may have been answered, but Pete had to disappear for 10 minutes at the point you started talking about hybrids. Although we may have come back, I don't know. Anyway, if you have missed it, Pete, go back and watch the replay. It's the bit about hybrids. Although I could just be talking rubbish when I've read the question. Is there a way of having a bullet and number for main items, but a continuing numbered list for sub-lists, but no bullets? I realise this is a really obscure need. So could I have something like 1, then indented 2 below this as a sub-list? Then if step 3 was a priority, go back to 3 as a non-indented item.
Yes, you could. It would be very complicated, but yes, you could. You could either try the hybrid approach. So watch the bit on hybrids. As soon as I've done the timings, I will paste them into the description. The hybrid list is possibly what you need. Depending on the numbering requirements that you need, you might have to add a global list into the mix from the Chinese menu. But it would work. It would just take some trial and error to get it to work. But yes, it could do it all.
Tony Brooks says, where are the paragraph formatting symbols defined? And then he says the double chevrons.
Paragraph formatting. Not with you. Say that again.
Where are the paragraph formatting symbols defined? Then he puts the double chevrons.
Let's go and have a look. So are we in the text styles? Does he mean these disclosure triangles that open them, or are we talking something inside here? I did do a demonstration where I showed one of the bullets. They're double chevrons. Could it be these that you mean?
It was quite early on.
I'm not sure. If it's the blue thing that you're talking about, double chevrons, these are codes that it uses. So they're fixed inside the app. If it's not that you mean, if it's the bullet that you mean, so this side of it, if you go in here and you're talking about the double chevron that I picked, it was across at the bottom, wasn't it? I don't think it was in that font. Oh, there it is at the beginning.
He says yes.
So it could have. Well, if you mean the blue items, they are codes internal to Affinity. If you mean these down here, then you will find them in this character panel. Okay.
SFN says, and I think this is more of a best practice, are bullets supposed to have a hanging indent or not? I've seen both, don't like it, but I have seen it.
I guess best practice would be that it does have a hanging indent, but it's totally up to you. As I said, you've got your Chicago Manual of Style, I think it's called, and there's also preferences depending. So Pete's asked that question about the edge case with the list because he's writing very technical documentation for medics. I worked in the law, so we had weird numbering going on and Bates numbering for pages and all kinds of stuff. They're just standards, so you can do whatever you prefer the look of, unless you're trying to work to a standard for somebody else, in which case they would need to tell you what the standard is. I think it looks better with a hanging indent. But what's strange to me is that Affinity does different things depending on how you actually create the list, which I do find a bit strange. I mean, the behaviour of the buttons is just insanity. But you can do whatever you want. It's up to you.
Tony says thank you. It makes sense. Yeah, I was saying that I always align my bullets with the left margin, but that's just me.
Some people prefer the bullets actually in the margins, which again could be in legal documentation. In a pleading, you would have numbers in the margin, and it could be set up to do that. And although why you would be creating a pleading in Affinity, I have no idea. Word does it, and it works. So if it works, just keep doing it.
Right. Lalas88 says more to do with text styles. If I change the base style in the document and share that with someone, will the style stay mine or will their base style be chosen?
Well, the styles live inside the file. So when you say share with somebody, if you're sending them the file, and then they're sending the file back to you, you will have one base style. You can export your styles. So you could either export them and send your styles to somebody. You could create a template and then your styles would live inside there. What I will say with styles is it can get a little bit complicated if what you do is a copy and paste content, because it will copy and paste styles and it will duplicate things, and you will then have a manual job tidying it up. But if the style is in the same file, you will be using the same file. If you've sent the file and they do work on it and then send it back, it's still the same styles. If you copy and paste content, then it fragments. So if you can give me a little bit more information on about how you're sharing it, then I can be a little bit more specific.
Okay, Renee says, and you probably answered this one with a steaming pile of poo, can bullets be replaced by icons or small logo elements instead of the default dots or squares?
There you go, Renee. I was ahead of you.
There's another question. I'll paste in a minute. 2 steps away. I think that's Ignacio. Does changing the bullet level refer to changing only the formatting?
No, the level is independent from the formatting, which was why when I made a level 3 and it was applied, it was still aligned to the left. So you have 2 elements with lists. You have the semantically correct list, which is to do with the levels, but nothing to do with the look of it. Separately, you have the look of the list. So there's nothing to stop you having, if you do it wrong, there's nothing to stop you having what looks like a 3-level list, but you didn't change the levels, so they're all actually a level 1. There may be an edge case that is what you want. It's going to depend on the output then. I would say it makes most sense to have the look of the text and the levels of the text set to match. And then when you create your PDFs, you've got to be very careful that your PDFs are accessible to people. And if you are trying to indicate a hierarchy of you do this first and then this and then this, if they're all a level 1, a screen reader is going to struggle. It's not going to understand where to go next because they're all the same level. So if there is, just because something looks right doesn't mean it is right semantically in terms of, is it designed correctly? But you do have the 2 elements, and it's up to you whether you choose to use them or not. I do. I know many, many people don't. Now, either that's a choice or they didn't know that they could do that. I wouldn't like to say which it is. But to make a fully accessible document, it is best if it's set up correctly. If you think of lists as like how a table of contents work, you don't want the table of contents to be saying that this like 3rd sub-level paragraph, putting in the header maybe in the table of contents. So just think in terms of it being accessible. And hopefully that will help.
Okay. Pete Lax, can you change the size of the bullet relative to the text? And if so, will it scale proportionally, i.e. use a 12-point bullet with 16-point text?
You can do whatever you like with the percentage thing that I showed towards the end. So I did show controlling the size of the bullet. And that's exactly how you would do it. You create, remember that it's paragraph level styles that create the list. It's character styles that change everything, that control the colour and control the size. So I did cover controlling the size of the bullet. I did that in relation to the drop caps. So watch the drop caps section, and that was how you change the size of the bullet.
Okay, Ignacio says, thanks for the detail for the levels question. That helps a ton. Ignacio then says, another question, when we update a bullet style, does that change roll over to a new file, or will it only live in the current file?
It will only live in the current file. What you would need to do with that is either, if it's a default change you want globally, you could, I'll show you the option in here. If you've made the change in this file, for example, you do have the option to update the styles. So save these styles as the default. I would be very careful doing that. The other thing you can do is add the styles to a template. Now, if you have a file based on that template, any changes you make to that file are not automatically written back to the template. But this is what you can do about that. So this is actually what I do with my file. So in here, in my templates, I have my ebook template, which is this one, and it has a range of styles in it. If I open that up and I change, let's get some text here, there we go. If I change the colour of this, which at the moment is my dark blue, right? I would do that in here because it's a global colour. It's my text primary. So I edit that in there. Let's say I make it greener, right? That's my text. I can then save that file. So we will save it as untitled in there. I have saved that. But if I go back to my template in here and I make another file based on it, you will see that that did not get written back. So if you want to write it back, then this is how you would do it. You would not create a new file based on it or anything else either. You would go into here. You would go to your templates. You would right click and you would say edit. At this point, be very careful. You are editing your template. So if in here I change that to green and saved it, look at the file name at the bottom. It's saying template. So I keep my styles in templates, and that way I can make new documents based on them. I'm not editing the original unless I find something wrong or an improvement I want to make, and then I open the template, I edit it, and I save that template. That's the way that I do it. So hopefully that will help you. I best close that. I do not want to make any changes to that, trust me. Obviously, what I did here involved global colours as well, because this is a template that I use, and I think you're getting the idea. If you've been at more than one session, you're getting the idea of how everything is connected to everything else. So to make my text easy to update, so my headings updated, my body text updated, I use global colours. I also use text styles. You can see I've got shortcut keys for them. I've got a table of contents ready to go. Everything in here is honed for me to be able to go to this page, delete that text, paste 26 pages of content in, and the whole lot just gets formatted. The table of contents is generated. Everything just happens automatically. But to get to that point, you've got a lot of moving parts that you have to kind of assemble like Lego pieces. But when you get to that stage, it is pretty amazing. So what you've got to think about with your styles is, where do you want to keep them? Do you want them in a file like this that has more content in? So it's got the front cover in it. This is the one with all the different master pages, if you remember. It's got multiple covers. You can have different covers. This cover, you can have your Life After Publisher cover, you've got your Secrets cover. You could do any of that in there. Or do you want to keep them as the default styles? And there's another option as well, which is, let's get rid of that. And let's do that. You can see favorited, I have a file called Master Textiles. These are my master textiles. This is where they live. Everything is in here. If I want to make a change, I come in here and make the change. And then I can import these styles into any other document that I like. So if in here, can we do that anymore? No, we can't, can we? That's grand. Not. Right. Let's do that. I need to see where that... You're not even going to tell me where it is, are you? Oh, that's... Right. Let me make a new file. Right. Let's do an A4 file. Right. This has only got in it the default styles. Now, I showed this very briefly at the end of the textiles thing. But this is what I would do because I don't want to change these defaults. If I do, every time I train, I've got to say, these aren't the defaults that you'll have and all of that. So I don't. That is what you would have as long as you've not changed it. But this is what I do if I create a new document like this and I think I wish I had my styles. So you can see the styles we've got here. That's it. That is all the styles. I've opened all of them and that is it. What I do is say File New. I then go into here and I say Delete Unused Styles. I've not even started yet, so that deletes the lot. It only leaves me with no style and no style. That's not deleting them from Affinity, it's deleting them from this file. Then what I need to do is go and import them. So I would need to go to Import Styles. Right. Now, I think I've shown this before. I probably have. What I do is in Dropbox, I have an application support folder and an Affinity one. And in there, I have defaults. And in there, I have textiles. That is where that master textiles file lives. And I then say open. It shows me all of the styles in my master file. It would show me if there were any conflicts. There can't be any conflicts. There are no styles in the file I'm importing into. I say OK, and everything is fine. I've got the base style, my headings, my steps. If we open this up, I've got way more styles now because these are my defaults. In addition to the actual styles themselves, it brings in my shortcuts, and I know those like the back of my hand. So I very seldom even need to go to the textiles panel to do it. So you've got 3 or 4 different ways of contemplating your default styles, and which you choose is totally up to you. If you find yourself that you're using the defaults for every single file, then you might want to change your defaults at application level. I find it safer not to do that because if I did that, if I changed them at the application level, I've got no backup. So if they wouldn't be the same on another machine. So I externalize that. You know, if Affinity broke tomorrow and I needed to uninstall it, everything is already backed up into that folder that you've just seen. Literally everything that I do, every setting I've got in here, there's some. So I've got my color palettes in there. I've got my textiles in there. I've got export presets, which you can't even export. They're screenshots. That is a screenshot of version 2. Because you can't export them. Literally everything, all my object styles, shortcuts, templates, everything is backed up. It can nuke itself tomorrow for all I care. But if you decide to keep your defaults in there, you would have to keep another set safe anyway. So that's the way that I do it. How you choose to do it, totally up to you. But you've got options.
Okay, let me go back to the questions. SFN says, were you just in the list, i.e. text selection, in order to apply all those extra bits? And it was the demo before the Chinese menu, I think. It's near the end.
The one before the Chinese menu. Okay, now I'm looking back through my data now. Right, that one was... Why didn't I call it chat? No, it's the global list, wasn't it? Hang on. Day to day. Right, here we go. Trifold. Right, it was decoration. So it was this one. Right, what was the question? I've got the right file.
Were you just in the list, i.e. text selection, to apply all those extra bits?
Right, everything in here, everything in this
It was the
style.
coloured section bit, she says.
Right, okay. So with this, if that was body text, right, all I did was customize the bullet style to have decoration. That was what I did. So if we go into the bullet style and edit it, I went to decoration, and you can see in here I added a top line, a bottom line, and a colour. The colour I picked in this one, which was my finished one, was grey, but you can choose whatever colour you want in there. You can even go into here, and if you're looking for like lightness, so I like that, but I want it lighter, like that. So you just choose a colour in there. That is then in the definition. And when you apply the bullet style to plain text, this is just plain text, it will apply the bullet, it will apply the tab, it will apply the hanging indent, and it will apply the line above and below, just by clicking on the bulleted style. I didn't do anything else other than click on the bulleted style. That was all I did. What else have we got?
Pete Lax says, can you align by the right side of the number if you use 123 rather than 010203?
Say that again slowly. Can you?
Can you align by the right side of the number if you use 123 rather than 010203?
Yes, you can. So it's available just as an alignment option.
Okay, Mike Brett says, can you apply any of the clever decoration tricks on, e.g. footnotes, to structure the footnote content?
Never tried it. Never tried it. Don't see why not, but you never know. There doesn't seem to be any logical reason why not. It would depend on if that is formatable. And I must admit, I've not tried it. Mike will make a note of that, won't you, Mike?
Yeah.
For me to try.
Right.
What else have we got?
Last question. Renee says, Word accepts PNGs as being bullets. Does Affinity allow that too?
Not where I've seen it, because you're choosing it or putting it in. So you're choosing it from the font. So you could install a custom font and do that. Or you could choose an emoji like I did and paste it in. Whether you could choose a PNG and paste that in, I've not tried it. I doubt that would work. I'm reckoning you couldn't get a PNG and paste it in that box. Let's try it. Right. I'd need a little PNG first, wouldn't I? So let's make a tiny PNG. Let's use the heart tool. And I know we don't need really to do that, but let's say we've got that. And we will give it a colour. And we will stick an artboard on it. Make it easy to select. There we go. And we will call that art bullet. And then, oh, you're getting the full range here. Then we will export it as a PNG. So let's put that in the upper level into there. So heart bullet, right. At that point, you would need, thinking at that point, you'd need to open it and copy it from somewhere. So if I open that up in preview on the Mac, just so we can see it, there it is. If I do a Command A and copy it, so it's on the clipboard, you can check it's on the clipboard, it's on the clipboard, and go into bullets and edit the bullets and numbering. You would need to be able to paste it in there. No, I was expecting you would not be able to do that. Right, you can't paste it in. I don't think if you can't paste it in, I can't see them letting you drop it in, but who knows? Can we drop it in instead? Oh, I wonder what that does. Oh, no. No, what that does is give you the path. Oh, dear. That's the bullet. So, no, don't do that, Renee. Just accept one of the bullets or an emoji. But surely the emojis alone would do that. Hopefully they would. Right, was that it?
That was it.
Okay, we are all done for questions. Who's ready for next weekend? And we need lots of comments in the week. I should make the next event conditional on the number of comments, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Do you know what else I should do?
What?
I should make replies conditional on people having the manners to say please and thank you.
Yeah.
You've suffered this week, haven't you, as I've gone off on one?
Yeah.
Oh, don't get me going. 99% of people are incredibly polite, but there's always one, isn't there? Just saying. In fact, there was more than one this week. That was the problem. Right, last shout for questions then. I'm sure Pete can think of something else esoteric for me to deal with. It'd be nice if you could drag and drop bullets in. The issue with it is there's another application that I sometimes use called Farrago, and they came up with an idea of having a little block in their application. It's an audio application that had an image in it. Oh, it didn't end well. They sent it out to beta testers and they wanted to put things in it that were like 4K. And the developers were saying, look, these were for tiny little pictures. And in the end, it came to a decision. They said, look, we either pull this feature entirely or we restrict you to only using emojis. And everybody all of a sudden calmed down and said, oh, I'm quite happy with emojis. And I'm sitting there thinking, you weren't yesterday. You wanted to use a 4K image yesterday. But if it was a case of not having any customization or being able to use emojis, they settled for the emojis. And I'm predicting the same for Renee. But there are a lot of emojis, so I don't think you'd find it as restrictive as you might think. And it might work. And you can do custom emojis on your phone, can't you? Not the Mimojis. You can actually do a custom emoji by telling it what you want. If you text that to yourself and then went into the Messages app, can you add it as an emoji? And if you can, that'll solve your problem. Just saying. Oh, somebody's going to have to try that because I've lost the will to live at that point. But give it a try and let me know. Right, is that it?
Yeah.
No more questions?
No, they're just talking about other things.
Oh, okay then. Right, well, we'll head off. Because I'm predicting a sausage roll in my very near future.
That's what they're talking about.
Oh, exactly. This is my treat, you see, when I've finished. Okay, we will say good night from me.
And good night from me.
We'll both see you next time. Stay safe, guys.